Greetings, adventurers, and well met. It is Wednesday evening, Tavern Talks at the Shifty Boar on the Master of Dungeons here on the Master of Dungeons Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Master of Dungeons, where we talk about D&D, play D&D, play some other games D&D adjacent, have some fun with it as well. We have been going over the past few weeks the new well, not new now, it's a couple weeks old, but the playtest material for playtest 6. More updates for the Player's Handbook coming out next year for the 50th anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons in 2024. These books, the original books that we're playing right now for 5th Ed, came out in 2014. To use this playtest material, you can find them on our Discord channel, Discord server if you want to join below. It's a community Discord that has all of the playtest materials in one place. You can also get them on D&D Beyond, and you can also get them at the Wizards of the Coast website also. If you want to use these playtest rules or changes from Arthur Arcana, go ahead and use the 2014 Player's Handbook with the adjustments being in the PDF for the playtest 6. Last week we got through the Cleric up to page 21. We finished talking about the Druid as well. And we left off with the Circle of Land, the subclasses that they're talking about here. The Circle of Land, Circle of the Moon, and Circle of the Sea. And now it looks as if we have the changes from the Player's Handbook. Circle spells. If anyone's ever played a Circle of the Land Druid, when you play a Circle of the Land Druid, you would normally pick what type of land. My favorite was the Circle of the Land Coast Druid, as the Coast Druids had a very similar ability to Arcane Recovery that the Wizard has to be able to get back some of your spells on a short rest, which is really, really cool. Let's see here. Circle spells now let you select a different land type each day. Also absorb the old bonus cantrip feature. The spell lists are shorter than their 2014 equivalent, since the Druid can now change lists each day. Lands aid new third level feature, which lets the Druid expend uses of wild shape to heal and harm in an area. Okay. Natural cover replaces land stride and enhances circle spells. Very, very cool. Nature's Ward has been redesigned to be more useful and to interact with circle spells. And Nature's Sanctuary has been redesigned to give the Druid another way to use wild shape and to provide protection to the Druid and allies. Alright, circle spells. When you finish a long rest, choose one type of land: arid, polar, temperate, or tropical. Okay, so now it's just going to be more of the type of land, not tied to specific like forests or coasts or anything like that. Arid, like deserts, things like that. Blur, Burning Hands, Fireball, Blight, and Wall of Stone. Why not Wall of Fire? Polar Land, Fog Cloud, Hold Person, Ray of Frost, Sleet Storm, Ice Storm, Cone of Cold. Temperate Land, Misty Step, Shocking Grasp of Sleep, Lightning Bolt, Freedom of Movement, Tree Stride. And Tropical, Acid Splash, Ray of Sickness, Web, Stinking Cloud, Plant Wolf, and Insect Plague. Alright, so then third level lands Aid. Chop level is a magic action you expend the use of your wild shape. Choose a point within 60 feet of yourself. Vitality given flowers and life draining thorns appear for a moment in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on that point. Each creature of your choice in that area must make a Constitution saving throw, taking 2d6 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. One creature of your choice in that area regains 2d6 hit points. Again, we had discussed this previously in some of the other streams about the inconsistencies of the gaining of these dice at certain levels and things like that. I definitely can kind of see that, because you're getting it at third level, and you might not say, okay, you get it changed at the different tiers, but it'd really be nice for them to try to find some more consistency, as we talk about when they're always wanting to streamline things to make them more simple. Let's see here, level 6. Natural Recovery. Tapping into nature, you can conserve and recover your magical power. You can cast one of the spells of first level or higher that you have prepared from your Circle of Spells feature without expending a spell slot. You must finish a long rest before you do so again. You can cast one of the spells of first level or higher that you have prepared from your circle spells feature without expending a spell slot. So all of these over here, you may cast one of them. Like say if you woke up after a long rest and you decided to take Arid for the day, you could cast Blight once. Well, you wouldn't necessarily have Blight yet at 6th level, but of course if you're 7th level and you had Blight, you could do that once. In addition, when you finish a short rest, you can use expended spell slots to recover. The spell slots can have a combined level that is equal to or less than half of your druid level, round up this time. Now the slots can be 6th level or higher. For example, for 6th level druid, you can craft for 3, 3rd level slot, 2nd and a 1st, etc. All right, so they've taken that ability, which was pretty much the Circle of Land Coast's ability, and made that 6th level instead of it being, I think it was 3rd level that you had that. And made it available to all, whatever land you decided to choose. Of course, after a short rest, you can't get this ability again until you finish a long rest. Nature's Ward at 10th level. Your Bond of the Land protects you. You're immune to the poison condition. You have resistance to a damage type associated with your current land choice. Okay. This is the fire, cold, lightning, poison, depending on which land you choose for the day. And then Nature's Sanctuary. As a magic action, you can spend a use of your wild shape and cause spectral trees and vines to appear in a 15-foot cube on the ground within 120 feet of yourself. They last there for 1 minute or until you have the incapacitated condition. You and your allies have half cover while in the area, and your allies gain the current damage resistance of your Nature's Ward while there. Huh. As a bonus action, you can move the cube up to 60 feet to ground within 120 feet of yourself. Okay. That's a pretty cool ability. The natural recovery is really cool. I like the idea of no matter what land you choose, you're going to be able to get your recovery back, which is nice. I like the damage resistance. That's pretty cool. And being able to give your companions half cover and your damage resistance that you have is pretty cool as well. And it is bound by your wild shape, so however many wild shapes you have, if you want to sacrifice one for that wild shape to be able to use Nature's Sanctuary. That's pretty cool. Nothing really stands out or strikes out really from the Circle of the Land. Let's look at the Circle of the Moon and see what they've done to replace the whole every druid can now bonus action wild shape. All right, updates. Last playtest version. All right, Circle forms will return to 2014 version. As in the last Druid playtest, I had just like a standard beast template or standard flying beast template, standard water beast template, and then it went back in this and changed it to where you have certain beasts. Combat Wild Shape now lets you use either your AC or your beast form's AC, whichever is higher. Feature also ensures you always have the Moonbeam spell prepared. You can cast the spell while in wild shape form. As in the previous Druid playtest, the feature also lets you cast abjuration spells while in wild shape form. Those healing spells now belong to the abjuration school. As we had mentioned last week and a couple weeks before, healing spells used to always be in the necromancy school, but abjuration is where it's been moved. Moonlight Step is a new 10th level feature. And Lunar Form enhances other features in the subclass. Maximum challenge rating for your wild shape is 1. Obviously, I'm assuming that goes up. Yeah, right there with the improved circle forms. Combat wild shape. Whichever AC is higher, yours or the beast's AC. Temporary hit points. When you assume a wild-shaped form, you get a number of temporary hit points equal to the form's hit points, or 3 times your druid level, whichever number is lower. For example, if you turn to a wolf, as a 5th level druid, you gain 11 temporary hit points, since 3 times your druid level is higher than the wolf's hit points. I see what they're trying to do, because the way that the druid was in is in 5th edition is that you can actually, like, there's some builds if you mess with Circle of the Moon Druid and a Barbarian and all that stuff like that, where you can basically in middle of tier 2, late tier 2, be able to cycle, like, I think it's 500 plus hit points of damage. So they're basically trying to prevent that type of exploitation of the rules there, it seems. Any abjuration spell, except for any spell that has material components. Okay. You always have the Moonbeam spell prepared while in wild shape form, and you can cast the spell in that form without material components. Sixth level improves circle forms. The maximum challenge rating of your wild shape now equals your druid level divided by 3, rounded down. Interesting. In addition, each of your attacks in wild shape form can deal its normal damage type or radiant damage. You make this choice each time you hit with those attacks. Not really I mean, I understand the whole concept of, the moon and radiant. I don't know. Almost seems as if they just don't have enough types of damage in 5th edition. Moonlight Step. You magically transport yourself, reappearing amid a burst of moonlight as a bonus action. Teleport to 30 feet. You have advantage on the next attack roll you make before the end of this turn. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. Remember once. You can all expended uses to finish a long rest. You can also regain uses by expending a spell slot of 2nd level or higher for each use you want to restore. No action required. Lunar Form. Power of the moon suffuses you, granting you the following benefits. Movable Moonbeam. While your Moonbeam is active, you can move it up to 60 feet at the start of each of your turns with no action required. That's pretty cool. Shared Moonlight. Whenever you use your Moonlight Step, you can also teleport one willing creature. That creature must be within 10 feet of you, and you teleport it to an unoccupied space that you can see within 10 feet of your destination space. Interesting changes. Circle of the Sea. Connection to the circle ensures that you always have certain spells prepared. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my goodness. Fog Cloud, Gust of Wind, Ray of Frost, Shatter, and Thunder Wave. That's a massive amount of number of spells. It's usually only 2 per level. They didn't have any circle of spells for the wild shape, did they? No, they did not. Other than always having Moonbeam prepared. Sleet Storm, Lightning Bolt, Control Weather, Ice Storm, Conjure Elemental, and Hold Monster. Wrath of the Sea at 3rd level. As a bonus action, you can spend a use of your wild shape to manifest an aura that takes the form of ocean spray that surrounds you. Lasts for 10 minutes. It ends early if you have the incapacitated condition. Dismiss it at no action required, or manifest the aura again. At the end of each of your turns, you can choose another creature you can see within 10 feet of yourself. Target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC or take thunder damage. And if the creature is larger or smaller, be pushed up to 15 feet away from you. Determine this damage. Roll a number of d6s equal to your wisdom modifier. Minimum of 1 dice. Aquatic Affinity, level 6. You always have the water breathing spell prepared. In addition, you gain a swim speed equal to your speed. If you use wild shape to assume a form that lacks a swim speed, that form gains your swim speed. Cool. Always having water breathing prepared also allows you to cast it as a ritual, which is obviously different than the wizards, where wizards just have to have it in their spell book in order to cast a ritual, or a warlock with a book of shadows or whatever, or anyone that has ritual caster for that matter. So yeah, you do always be able to ritual water breathing. You have Stormborn. You get a fly speed equal to your speed. You have resistance to cold, lightning, and thunder damage. My goodness. These new ones that they're bringing in seem to be a lot more powerful than their basic ones. Kind of like Circle of Stars Druid. Really no reason to play. I mean, Circle of Stars Druid is just so powerful, it's awesome. And finally, Oceanic Gift. Whenever you use Wrath of the Sea, you can manifest the aura around one willing creature within 60 feet of you rather than manifesting around yourself. The creature gains all the benefits of the aura and uses your spell save DC and wisdom modifier for it. In addition, you can manifest the aura around both another creature and yourself if you expend 2 uses of your wild shape instead of 1 when manifesting the aura. And as I recall, the druid you can expend, just the druid class itself, not the subclasses. I think you can spend spell slots to get back wild shape uses. Alright, well, that was the druid. Circle of the Sea looks pretty powerful. Definitely has the potential to be powerful. Not sure how I really feel about the Circle of the Moon. Circle of the Land's interesting. Like I said, there's not really a whole bunch of like that 14th level abilities compared to the 14th level ability of the Oceanic Gift is, in my opinion at least, kind of weak. Comparatively, I should say. Again, these are all just first reactions. I have not seen any of these. I just remember what page we're on, and then I open it up next week. We won't be on next week, actually, for Tavern Talks. We're going to have our normal stream next Monday evening for Around the Campfire, and then we're going to be off for vacation Tuesday through Saturday, as we're going to be at Gen Con, running some Dungeons & Dragons at Gen Con. Alright, talks about what monks do. Signed to monk updates. Here are the main updates to this class, most of which were inspired by the Player's Handbook survey in 2021. I like that. Martial arts starts with a die 6 rather than a die 4 for martial arts die. The die applies only to unarmed strikes, not weapons. Weapons are now enhanced by weapon mastery. Once unarmed strikes needed this damage boost, which goes up to a D12 now instead of a D10. There we go, there's the progression there. Discipline points, your key. They're not calling it, they're calling it discipline points now. So tier 1, die 6, tier 2, die 8, tier 3, die 10, tier 4, D12. Okay. So no extra movement, but you get a plus 10 movement in tier 1. That's weird to change that right there. Alright, we'll see what the class features are. It's the other changes. Weapon mastery, new first level feature, giving you a way to use weapons. Martial discipline, formerly key, gives an improved version of Step of the Wind, which now lets you take both the disengage and the dash action. Reflect missiles have been redesigned. Heightened metabolism, a new 7th level feature. Making it easier for the monk to regain discipline points and gain other benefits of a short rest. Yep, Stunning Strike. I can see that Very similar to the Paladin's Smite ability, Stunning Strike can be extremely powerful, especially once your monk gets a fairly high DC for saving on that. Especially since it's also not, well, at least I've always viewed it as a normal save, so even things with magic resistance, where they're resistant to magic and other spells and other magical effects, Stunning Strike was more of a, I guess, natural martial arts type of effect, and using that every round, you could just, someone can go through and just stun like a whole, 2 or 3 using flurry of blows, 4, 5 at higher levels, no, 4 2 attacks, then their fury of blows and all of that. To have a couple levels of fire, the action surge, and do it all again, you could stun a fairly large number of creatures in one attack round. Powered strikes. Now it's letting you deal force damage. Acrobatic movement, new name of unarmored movement improvement. Self restoration replaces stillness of mind, purity of body, and timeless body. And allows you to remove conditions as a bonus action, not an action. That's pretty powerful. New 13th level feature allowing you to use deflect missiles to deflect any type of ranged attack, including spell attacks. What? Discipline Survivor, formerly called Diamond Soul. Spirit Defense, formerly Empty Body, has been redesigned to not rely on spells. Perfect Discipline, formerly Perfect Self, has moved from 20th to 15th level. And then Defy Death is a new 20th level feature. Obviously, this is playtest material. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be, changed before it goes live in the new books next year. But man, some of the balancing of some of these things, like certain classes are moving their capstones down to 18. Now they're moving some of them back up to 20th level. They're moving the 20th level discipline, unless they change it, down from 20th level to 15th level. And adding a new one, so it seems as if a lot of the readjustments they're making are definitely hurting more classes and helping other classes. Obviously, I can tell you this from the amount of games that I run every year. Monk is probably the class that I've seen the fewest of being played. Since I became a professional DM about three years ago, last May, it is definitely the least played class in the tables that I run, and even in my Gen Con will be 40 years, and 40 years of being a DM, that's really definitely the least played class. So maybe they're boosting it up because they want people to play it more. I don't know. So let's go ahead and just dive into the monk here. Still to the 8 hit points. Dex and strength. Interesting to have strength on there. Or, I mean, I could see I could see the game actually getting to a point where they might even allow you to select your 2 saving throws. I could see that as a change maybe coming into where they say, okay, for your class, you choose 2 out of these choices or something like that. Very similar to like the skills right there. Choose 2 of those. So when are they going to get martial weapons? What levels that? Might just depend on the subclasses. Of course, you're starting equipment, multi-classing. All right, let's check out the features here. First level martial arts. Practice martial arts gives you the mastery of combat styles that use your unarmed strike and simple weapons. You get the following benefits while you are unarmed or wielding only simple weapons and you aren't wearing armor or wielding a shield. Bonus unarmed strike. When you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or a simple weapon on your turn, you can also make 1 unarmed strike as a bonus action. That's pretty much the same. You use dexterity instead of strength. except of course for those that have two-handed property. It's interesting how they word that, because if something's versatile, meaning you can use it one-handed or two-handed, like a quarterstaff, for example, and it also depends on how they word it in the new books, because if a weapon's two-handed, you only have to wield it two-handed when you attack with it. Like, for example, when you fire a bow, you have to use both hands, but when you're not firing or not drawing an arrow, you have the bow in one hand, your other hand's empty. Which is one of the reasons why, as it stands in the 5th edition as it is, they've obviously changed it in the playtest for One D&D. But if someone shot a bow and someone came up to them and got a melee, they don't have to drop their bow to pull out just one weapon. You know, they can pull that out as part of the one of the free actions and then attack. Of course, if they want to fire their bow again, they do have to drop that weapon, or they can use their free object interaction to sheath it and then fire. For example, with the quarterstaff, when monks, since the quarterstaff is a simple weapon, I always allow monks to say, hey, you know, if you're using your quarterstaff, you can always swing it two-handed. Your unarmed strikes doesn't have to be with your fists. It could be with your feet. You could be like a headbutt or anything like that. It's just an unarmed strike. Okay, and then martial arts die. You can roll a die 6 in place of the normal damage of your unarmed strike. This die changes as you gain monk levels, as shown in the martial arts column of the monk table. We saw that earlier. While you aren't wearing any armor or wielding any shield, your base AC is 10 plus your dexterity and wisdom modifiers. That's the same. Weapon mastery. Your training with weapons allows you to use the mastery property of 2 kinds of simple weapons of your choice, such as daggers and spears. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can change the kinds of simple weapons you choose. For example, you could switch to using mastery properties of maces and slings, which is understandable. Martial discipline. Arms will have extraordinary energy. Obviously, this, I believe, was used, as I said, used to be key. Flurry of blows, not fury, flurry of blows. Patient defense and step of the wind. So you get all your discipline points, back after a short or long rest. Saving throw. Your saving throw DC is 8 plus your bonus proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier. Immediately after you take the attack action on your turn, and you can spend 1 discipline point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. You spend 1 discipline point to take the dodge action as a bonus action. You spend 1 discipline point to take both the disengage and dash actions as a bonus action. And your jump is doubled for the turn. I believe in a previous stream we talked about that you might need to work on the jumping rules, since you really can't ever, you're not supposed to be able to jump regardless of what your movement is. I think it's more than your strength score, something like that. So you can disengage and dash as a bonus action, because it says you take both the disengage and dash action as a bonus action, not you can take the disengage or the dash action as a bonus action. You get both of them with Step of the Wind. Now, I think Step of the Wind did it used to be a teleport? Like you teleport up to your speed or something? I can't remember exactly. Unarmed movement, your speed increases by 10 feet while you aren't wearing armor or wearing armor or wielding a shield. Deflect missiles. You can use your reaction to deflect ranged attacks against you that deal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced by D10 plus your dex modifier plus your monk level. Of course, you can reduce the damage to 0. You can spend 1 discipline point to redirect the attack towards another creature. If you do so, choose a creature within 60 feet of yourself that isn't behind total cover. That creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take damage equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die. That's pretty cool, interesting. Subclass Warrior of Mercy, Warrior of Shadow, or Warrior of the Four Elements, Warrior of the Open Hand. For this playtest, use the Way of Mercy from Tasha's Cauldron. Everything for Warrior of Mercy. Ability score improvement. Slow fall at 4th level. Use reaction when you fall to reduce any damage you take from the fall by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level. Extra attack, stunning strike. 1 to give him a stun. And power strike at 6th level. Whenever you do damage, you can deal a choice of force damage or its normal type. Of course, you get a subclass feature then. 7th level evasion. Dexterity, saving throw. Only half damage. You instead take no damage. If you succeed, you still just take half damage if you fail. Heightened metabolism. If you spend at least 1 minute resting, you can give yourself all the benefits of a short rest. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So you can get the benefits of a short rest to the time it takes for someone to cast Mending. Ability score increased to 8. And ability to move along vertical surfaces and across liquids on your turn without falling during the movement. Let me see something. It'd be nice for them to kind of clarify this a little bit as well. Plus, you already have safe fall anyway at 4th level. Self-restoration at 10th level through sheer force of will. You can use a bonus action to remove one of the following conditions from yourself. And again, it says the bonus action: charmed, frightened, or poison. Foregoing food and drink doesn't give you levels of exhaustion. Design note: disease. In the 2014 versions of the Monk and Paladin, both classes gained immunity to disease. That immunity has been removed from the playtest versions of the class because the word disease doesn't have a solid meaning in the rules, and for years the rules have delivered disease-like effects through the poison condition. The game will continue to use the condition in that fashion. There's lots of diseases out there. Monk subclass ability score improvement. Deflect energy. Now use your deflect missiles feature against ranged attacks that deal any damage type, not just bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. Cool. Deflect and throw back a firebolt. Your physical and mental discipline grant you proficiency on all saving throws. That's cool. If we ever make a saving throw and fail, you can spend a discipline point to re-roll it and take the second results. I think that this was still something there, but I'm not sure. I don't remember if this was there in 5th edition. Again, I get my editions of D&D messed up all of the time. That's why I'm so glad that that's why I always tell players that you should know your character and your character class better than the Dungeon Master, because the Dungeon Master has so many other things that they have to keep track of, and keeping track of the exact features that your character does is very, very difficult. Bonus and kudos to those DMs that are able to do it, especially if all you've played is 5th edition. It'd be much easier, but always be ready for your DM to say, well, can you explain to me exactly what that is? Just because sometimes they're not going to know, and don't assume that your dungeon master definitely knows all about your character. Definitely be helpful to them when they ask you questions about it. Whew. Perfect discipline. When you roll initiative, you regain 4 expended discipline points if you have none remaining. Ability score improvement, subclass feature, 18th level superior defense. Bonus action, spend 3 discipline points to bolster yourself for 1 minute until you're incapacitated. Resistance to all damage except force. Ability score improvement at 19th and defy death. If you're up to 0 hit points, you can spend 4 discipline points, roll 4 martial arts dice, and add the dice together. Your number of hit points instead changes to the total rolls. Each time you use this feature after the first, the discipline point cost is increased by 2. When you finish a short rest or a long rest, the discipline point cost resets to 4. Wow. That's pretty tight. Wow. Definitely going to see a few more monks if they keep the rules anywhere close to what they are in the playtest, that's for sure. Alright, let's see. The Warrior of Shadow subclass. Shadow Arts has been redesigned, giving the monk dark vision, a darkness that costs fewer discipline points than before, and the darkness can be moved each turn during the duration of the spell. One can also see in their own darkness. Whew. Allow Shadow Step to be used in bright lights. Okay. Those shadows have been moved to 17th level and redesigned to empower the monk while in dim light or darkness. Alright. Shadow Art. Through rigorous training, you learn to draw on the power of the Shadowfell, gaining the following benefits. At 3rd level, you can cast, for 1 discipline point, you can cast darkness without any spell components. You can see in the spell's area when you cast it. While the spell persists, you can move its area of darkness to a space within 60 feet of you at the start of each of your turns. I can already see that being massively used in multi-classing and abused in multi-classing. Because you can see through the darkness spell and you can move it up to 60 feet and you can cast the spell, giving you bonus or giving you a heroic inspiration or advantage, whatever it's called now, instead of inspiration, heroic advantage or whatever, on your attacks because they can't see you, but you can see them. Dark vision out to 60 feet. If you already have dark vision, it's in range increased by 60 feet. So I can already see a Shadow Arts Druid Gloomstalker Ranger. Anyone feel like making that for playtest, feel free. I never have time to play, so there you go. Warrior of the Shadow Monk, Gloomstalker Ranger. Maybe a Wood Elf, since the Wood Elves already start with more movement, and you get more movement as a Shadow Arts, Warrior of the Shadow Monk. And you already have Dark Vision, and your Dark Vision's increased from Gloomstalker by 30, I think, if you already have it, putting up to 90. And then if you already have Dark Vision as a Warrior of Shadow Monk, it would be increased by 60, so you'd have 150 feet of Dark Vision. Plus your Darkness spell, you can move around and you can see through it. And you can just step back and fire arrows at advantage every time. Whew. Level 6 Shadow Step. While entirely within dim light or darkness, as if light, for example, the darkness that you can create with your discipline point. Like I say, I understand these giving these types of things to them in certain situations, but sometimes it's almost as if that it might be a double bonus that they might not need, but I don't know. I get the whole concept of, they get advantage on the next melee attack because they're there, then they're gone, or there's nothing there, then bam, they are right there. I can see that advantage from that, though. Level 11, improve shadow step. You can draw on your connection to the shadow to empower your teleportation. Wow. So you can use your one discipline to cast a darkness spell all around you. And you can use your improved shadow step to teleport out of it, even if it's into bright light, for another discipline point, and then hit somebody with an unarmed strike immediately afterwards. Cool. Play with shadows. As a bonus action while entirely within dim light or darkness, you can spend 3 discipline points to shroud yourself with magical darkness for 1 minute until you have the incapacitated condition or until you end your turn in bright light. While shrouded in darkness, you gain the following benefits. It's really interesting how they're adding so many different conditions that weren't conditions in 5th edition that are going to be in 5.5 or One D&D or whatever it's called. Because I don't see someone cloaking themselves in a shroud of magical darkness, how that makes them invisible. You can still see the shroud of darkness there, especially if you're in dim light. Now, obviously, if they're in darkness, it's completely a different thing. I guess it's the whole idea of the whole wraith-like form they're talking about. Partially incorporeal. Use your flurry of blows without spending any discipline points. Which is interesting because you already did just spend 3 discipline points to get the ability for a minute. Huh. Really powerful. Of course, I always say as the DM, and the power of the characters really don't necessarily bother me. I know that it does bother a lot of other dungeon masters, though. Alright, so we're on to the Way of the Elements. Got about 10 minutes left or so in the stream tonight. Might be able to get through. They had 4 of them, but one of them was from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So let's go ahead and check out the Way of Elements, formerly the Way of the 4 Elements, redesigned, often the lowest rated subclass of the lowest rated class in 5th edition D&D. New features. Enhances the unarmed strikes to powers. Environmental burst, strides of the elements. Enhances the step of the wind and elemental epitome. New feature that further enhance the monk with elemental power. Alright, elemental attunement. You have attuned yourself with the element forces of the multiverse. You know the elementalism cantrip. I'm sure that's going to be later on this playtest material. So for 1 discipline point, you can imbue yourself with elemental energy for 10 minutes or until you have the incapacitated condition. Whenever you hit with your unarmed strike, you can use it to cause your choice of acid, cold, fire, or lightning. And then you can force a saving throw to either move them up to 10 feet toward or away from you. Interesting. So my concern about what I've seen so far with the playtest materials, if you have a chance to go back and watch our video on demand from yesterday, I was talking about how you can create using the 5th edition rules. Like I said, 5th edition up until 12th, 11th, 12th level is extremely balanced in my opinion. In all of the years that I've been playing D&D, it's one of the most balanced times that I've seen for those levels. Now, I went through yesterday on our Dungeons and Deliberations stream talking about. I've been, for those of you who haven't had a chance to watch those, I've been working on, have had a couple episodes of working on some stuff for my campaign world that I want to use as a homebrew game for one of the streams coming up, hopefully in September. But I was talking about making just giving examples of how easy it is to create balanced spells. We started with cantrips, and eventually we'll probably work up and do some first and second, maybe third level spells. That way, at least the characters will have some new stuff to discover in the homebrew game when we start. But I went through and was giving examples of how things are balanced and how you can use examples of those to recreate different types of spells. Here's a good example of why this uses a die 8 and this uses a die 6. This one is an attack roll. This is a saving throw. All of these different things that they used in balancing, which means that you can go through and create a spell that in and of itself is really already balanced. Don't necessarily have to play test it. You might tweak it maybe, but the majority of the time you're not going to have to tweak anything because it already kind of falls into line. Like I think we made an arc blade, which is kind of like a green flame blade but with lightning. We made a poison bolt instead of a fire bolt. We did a thunder blast, and then we also did a fire lash. Fire lash is kind of like a combination mixture of like lightning lure and thorn whip. But those already come out balanced because we're working from a balanced template already. It's almost as if I'm not with the different classes and how they're changing this, how they're changing that, how they're changing the subclasses. It's almost as if there's no rhyme or reason for adding some of this to these different things. It's almost as if they're trying to take what they've done for 5th edition and almost throw it out with the bathwater or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. I can't understand the elemental energy extending from you with your unarmed attack for the reach. I don't know, just like you can at will change your damage type. This is only a 3rd level too, right? Yeah, this is just 3rd level. Now, your save really isn't going to be that great, I guess, at 3rd level, but I don't know. All right, let's move on. Sorry. I mean, I guess that is the point of this stream, is for my reaction. Sorry, my mustache needs to be trimmed again. That's like 2 weeks I didn't do that. As a magic environmental burst. Sorry. As a magic action, you can spend 2 discipline points to cause environmental energy to burst in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within 120 feet of yourself. Choose a damage type. Each creature in the sphere must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, creature takes damage of the chosen type equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. Takes half as much on a successful save. Before or after you take this bonus action, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. I don't know. I dig the whole Way of the 4 Elements ideal. The whole thing of the Way of the Elements. I think that what I would do if I were making the class is that when you finish a long rest, you choose an elemental type. You can change it on a short rest. Because this selecting it, every one of the different ones. I'm not sure even if acid would be in there, but anyway. But at will, changing those is just, again, this is just my opinions. People might have varying, as I say, your mileage may vary, but I don't know, that's pretty interesting. And the fact that so many things are just giving you an extra unarmed strike. So you don't have to, you can avoid the normal monk's ability to get an unarmed strike when you attack with a unarmed strike or a simple weapon. Now they're adding it also into certain abilities. And the combining of like dash and disengage. And now on top of it, when you use your Step of the Wind, you gain a fly speed and swim speed equal to your speed for 10 minutes. Oops. And finally, level 17, Elemental Epitome. Assuming that's supposed to be Elemental Epitome instead of Elemental Attunement feature. Oh no, I'm saying it. Okay, there we go. So in addition to all the abilities up there, you also get damage resistance to one choice of the following damage types. At the start of each of your turns, you can change this choice. When you use your Step of the Wind, your speed increases by 20 feet until the end of the turn. For that duration, any creature of your choice takes damage equal to one roll of your martial arts die when you enter a space within 5 feet of it. The damage is the same type you choose for the feature's damage resistance. And they don't even get a save for that. Oh, and you also get empowered strikes. Once on each of your turns, you can deal extra damage to a target equal to one roll of your martial arts die when you hit with an unarmed strike. Of course, the damage is the same type you choose for the feature's damage resistance. We got a couple minutes left, so we're probably not going to go start with the Warrior of the Hand. We'll go ahead and mark that down, page 31 for next week. Or I'm sorry, my apologies, the week after, since next week. At this time, I will be sitting in a DM meeting for all of the Adventurers League games we'll be running at Gen Con. We will have our normal streams tomorrow and Friday for our dungeon delving, playing Lord of the Rings online, massive multiplayer online RPG, free to play. We play on the Landerval server. Sunday evening, we're not going to have our live play stream as some of our players are still on vacation, but I am probably going to go ahead and run a stream talking about Gen Con, talking about my experiences at Gen Con, some of the cool things you can do. We'll maybe even go over the online catalog that was released today as well, and I'll go through my Gen Con schedule in case anyone that watches happens to be at Gen Con, stop by and say hi and all of that. And then we'll have our normal Monday night around the campfire stream for horror games, and then we, as I said earlier at the beginning of this stream, we'll have the off Tuesday through Saturday next week for Gen Con. But we will be back on the last Sunday of Gen Con. I'm going to be leaving early to make sure that I get home in time for our live play stream, August 6th. Vidoriant's Vault Part 1 from the Keys from the Golden Vault. We'll play that Sunday evening and be back to our normal streaming schedule the following week after that. As you can hear, you can probably hear my familiar just waking up right on time. Thanks to all of our supporters, of course, especially our patrons from Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, please consider becoming a patron or subbing here on Twitch, twitch.tv/themasterofdungeons. The link to our Patreon page, as well as all of our social media accounts, can be found below in the About Us section here on Twitch. If you could, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, give us some likes, some retweets, all of that good stuff. Every sub, like, and share helps us immensely. If you want, also, you can join the Master of Dungeons Community Discord server down below as well. Just click on the Discord panel, and you'll be given an invite to join our Discord server where you can help shape a caring, accepting, inclusive community. Our merch store is live as well. I definitely need to go on and get myself a couple of shirts to wear when we get to Gen Con, but that is the links to that is down below also. And thanks for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. If we don't see you before then, have a great weekend. And as always, happy adventuring. Take care.